You may be wondering where this devlog was last week. Well, I turned 12, and when it's your birthday, you gotta have a party.
All my life, I wanted to make games. So, in the summer of 2020, I started my game dev journey. I was always under the impression that programming was hard. It seemed like you needed years of time and education to write code. Well, guess what? That's wrong. Anyone can make games, and it is easier than ever before. Tools that only huge corporations had access to can now be used by anyone for free. With amazing websites like YouTube, anyone can make and watch tutorials. Most game devs out there are self-taught with little to no schooling. So you know what? Anyone can be a game dev. So what I'm trying to say is that I am a game dev.
Kinda. Welcome to the making of paradise, or as I like to call it, making a game with no prior experience and hoping your PC doesn't crash. As you might have noticed by the intro, things are getting a little more professional. I have a drone now, and not just any drone. This is the Mavic Air 2. So from now on, my videos are gonna have a little more altitude. That's not good. That's not supposed to happen. Dad, what did you say about a warranty? You know, that drone flying in space is kind of reminding me of something, but I don't know what. Oh, right, the actual game. Okay, look, making a massive galaxy where you can travel from planet to planet is a little bit harder than I thought.
I know this sounds ambitious,
but I think I found a system that just might work.
Now, the first thing we need to make is a fun and easy-to-use spaceship controller. Now, there are two ways we could make this. The first one would be a basic arcade-style spaceship that would not technically use physics, but would be a lot easier to make. The second one, on the other hand, would be a more realistic approach, where we would use physics to calculate the movement of the spaceship. This time, I chose to use a physics-based ship, as it will allow me to do a lot more with movement and other things. And games like No Man's Sky and Outer Wilds also use this approach. So with that figured out, I started coding. The first thing I did is I added some basic camera movement and the ability to move forwards and backwards. I then added the ability to roll the ship left or right by pressing A and D. This is useful if you need to reorientate yourself.
With that, we have basic movement, but we do have a bit of a problem. When you get the ship going really fast, it is almost impossible to stop. So I made it when you press the shift key, it brings you to a complete stop. But it's a little jarring, so to fix this, I'm gonna have to call an old friend. Greetings, children. Today we'll be coding our own neural Hi, is this Captain Developer? Hi, Harvey. Nice to see you again. What do you need help with? Well, I'm trying to fix this issue with my game. Do you think you can help? Oh, that's easy to fix. In fact, I'll do that right now. What we need to use is an exponential stopping technique, which, unlike a linear one, changes depending on the current velocity of the spaceship, and is more accurate to real life, because a spaceship going 10,000 miles per hour doesn't take about 3 seconds to stop. Sorry, Star Wars, that's not how physics work. Wow, thanks for explaining things. No problem. But now I'm afraid it's time for me to go, kids. A 14-year-old in Siberia is about to code his first computer virus using spaces. Ugh. Remember, kids, Love with your heart, but use tabs for everything else. Captain Developer! Anyways, I think it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to add that feature. And when I mean that feature, I mean it's time to add some planets. Although, we have a problem. You see, making spherical planets that are actually the size of planets are kind of, well, one of the biggest and hardest feats in the industry that took a whole team of people 3 years to develop and ended up looking like this. So we have to find a workaround. After I did some brainstorming, I came up with a solution that should work.
What we can do, instead of having the player landing on the actual planet, we can just teleport the player when he's close enough to a flat plane that will serve as our planet's surface. And don't worry, I found a way where we can make the planet the actual size of a planet. More on that later. So I started implementing that system. To make this work, I added a couple of scripts. The first one being a gravity script. This allows me to make planets orbit around a sun, and is actually pretty easy to set up. I ended up handling this a lot like Sebastian Lee. All we need to do is use rigid bodies and tell the script if one object has a bigger mass than itself, orbit around that one. And there we go! We now have planets that orbit. Now we just need everything else. This is gonna take a while. The next script I added is the planet script. This script tests to see how far away the player is from the planet, and if the player comes in a certain range, they will be teleported to the planet's surface. And with that done, we now have a basic planet exploration system, although you still can't exit your ship and walk around yet, but that's for the next devlog. Now that's done, I started modeling the player's starting spaceship. The basic design is to have a sphere as the cabin of the ship, with protective shielding around it with 2 jet engines on both sides. Later Harvey here, I just now realized that jet engines would not work in space because they need air to function. Whoops. With the design figured out, I hopped onto Blender and started modeling. The cabin was easy, it was literally just a sphere, but the outer shielding was a little bit harder, seeming as it has a very complex design. The way I ended up creating it was I used Blender's curve object. What I did was I roughed out the shape of the shielding, pushed some buttons, hope my PC doesn't blue screen, and boom, it's done. Now that's done, I think it's time to give the menu an update. Again. And wow, that looks a lot better. What I did here is I changed the menu's layout from a vertical one to a horizontal one, and it looks so much better. I also changed the font because the one I was using did not have symbols for numbers. Also, I would like to mention I will definitely keep working on this later, but I want to hear what you guys think I should change, so make sure to leave a comment down below. Who knows, you might get picked for the featured comment in the next video. And speaking of which, it's time for the featured comment. And the comment that made me laugh and will be getting a shout out is Steeler105 with his comment, "You should make a 2D game, or you can't do that." Did you just seriously challenge my game dev skills? Well, you know what? I accept your challenge. That's for next time. And before I go, I would like to mention we have a public Discord server, so make sure to check it out. Also, make sure to subscribe. We're trying to get 100 subscribers by the end of the year. Right now, we just need 30 more, and I think we can do it. Anyways, my name's Harvey Gilman, I have a lot of editing to do, and you're watching Boulder Dash.